Kelly shaping the world. Lillian drops wisdom, helping minds unfurl. Business plots brewing, chaos ain't no sin. Tune into the mayhem, let the fun begin. Mics, moms, and mayhem, chaos in the street. Business plans and laughter, living out the dream. Real talk, real moments, endless fun on air. Join Lillian and Kelly if you truly dare.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mike's Moms and Mayhem. I am Kelly.
And I'm Lillian. And today we are going there. We're talking about what it really means to be a wife and mom in 2025. And not that pretty, filtered social media that you're used to. We're going to talk about the truth.
Yeah, last week I think you talked about that Pinterest mom or Pinterest
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah,
You said that was the devil. So
it
but
was.
we're not going to talk
It
about
was.
that. No,
No, we're not.
that. No.
We're not. No.
Yeah, this episode is about marriage and motherhood, how to navigate it. And I think we titled it, It's More Than a Title, right? The unseen load of love. I do want to say before we get started, Lillian, we went live by this episode recording. We've gone live to our community. We need those balloons and confetti and all that other stuff. But
Right.
we've gone live. We have now entered the podcast world, the podcast land. We are on all the platforms, Mike's, Moms, and Mayhem. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. I told you I was trying to figure out TikTok. We're on TikTok. I don't know if it's the right way, but we're on there and we'll figure it out along the way. We are also excited to be on Spotify. Woo!
That was a shock. That was a shocker.
Right,
That was a shocker.
right.
I ain't gonna lie.
Let's see what else. We're also on Substack. It was one of the things that I heard about based off people and reviews, and you got to be on Substack. So we are on Substack. We'll figure out all these other platforms. There was someone who said, "Hey, can you get on such and such?" I promise we're going to try to be wherever you can find podcasts. That's where we're trying to find Audible and Amazon and Apple Podcasts. Again, we're growing, we are learning. This is new to both of us. So we are trying to figure it out and we're going to figure it out. But most importantly, we want to grow our community, the Mayhem community. We're going to have to find us something like what the Beehives and something like that. Or something.
The Mayhemians or something. I don't know.
Here we go. But yeah, so we have to figure that out. But until then, we want to grow our Mayhem community. And so that means when we release our recordings, we want you to listen. We want you to follow. We want you to share. We want you to share. We want
follow,
you
subscribe, hit the bell
share.
for notifications, whatever you got to do.
Subscribe, everything. We have a couple more days before we're able to get on YouTube, which is our final thing. But until then, we want you to subscribe to all of our channels and our platforms and follow and share and share. We want to grow this community. We are excited.
Okay, you went me. All right, Beyonce, everybody on mute. You went mute.
Right. I was practicing.
That was in your Beyonce moment.
Yes, we want you to follow us. We want to grow this community. We are excited about this new journey. It was birthed out of conversations, out of frustrations, out of just trying.
Initiations.
Right.
You remember
honey.
that initiation?
All of the above. We are just trying to grow this community and we want it to take off. We want it to be a part of your weekly routine of podcasts, of listening, of sharing. Not only that, but commenting. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your feedback. How are we doing? What could we do better? What topics do you want to hear? Do you want to focus on the topic that we just discussed? Do we need to go in more depth? We want to be real. We want to be authentic. We want to be organic. We want to be unfiltered. We want it to be just us. I didn't iron. I don't iron. And so I'm going to come wrinkled, honey, most of the time. But this is who you get, right? And this
Mhm.
is raw. This is the real. This is,
But
we're not filters. We may touch up our face a little bit, but it's just us. But we want you to be able to feel that
yeah.
through whatever platform you're listening to us on. We also want to give a shout out to our first commenter, right?
When I tell
Sharon.
you,
Sharon. Oh, what's the last name? Sharon starts with a B. I had the name. I'm sorry, but Sharon, you have made our day. Because I
listen,
said, Lillian,
it-
we gotta go.
look, let me find it because when I tell you, Miss Sharon or Sharon, if you nasty, I don't know if we saying it right. When I tell you, when sis shared that with me, I was like, so we famous now. Like that
She
made me
did say
feel
that.
so
She
famous.
did. Yes.
Like you blessed me in a monumental way. Her name is
Yes.
Sharon or Sharon Dargan.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Sharon, but we want
And
to give you a shout out.
yeah, we're gonna shout you out and we're gonna bless you a little bit. We still trying to figure it out because I was like, you know what? She showed up for us, so we're gonna show up for you
Correct.
too. We're still working
Yes.
out the logistics, Miss
Yes.
Sharon. So just stay tuned. We're gonna reach out to you and we're gonna pour some love on you a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We
She
definitely
look,
will
you
do
could
that. Yes.
for 30 minutes, I was totally,
She really was.
totally annoying because I was just like, I'm famous. Do you want my autograph now before I have to start charging for
She
it? And my
really
husband
was.
was like, listen, hus was like, I'm gonna need you to go have a seat. This is great. I'm happy for you. Go have a seat. So,
Where's my chicken?
so are we gonna eat today, Your Majesty? Yeah, that's how it went. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, goodness. We are
So,
excited, you guys. We really
yeah,
are. And we want
definitely.
you to know that. So let's get into this. I really feel that this topic I know is very near and dear to both of us. But it's something that we do every day, and that's navigating marriage and navigating motherhood. Marriage and motherhood is more than a title, it is the
Mhm.
unseen load of love. We know that marriage and motherhood are sacred. You know, when I was young, that is what I dreamed. I wanted to always be a wife and I wanted to always be a mother. The number of children varied for me, but I knew that I always wanted to be a wife and I always wanted to be a mother because of the example I saw in my parents. And we'll definitely go into that a little more. As sacred as it is, Lillian, it is also what? Exhausting.
Exhausting. Yeah,
Exhausting, honey. Yeah,
exhausting.
put a New Jersey accent
Yeah,
on it. And but it's exhausting when we're trying to hold everything down. And even in that, it seems as if nobody sees us falling apart, right?
yeah.
So
If you've
how do
ever
you
just
feel about
felt
that?
like if you've ever just felt like you're carrying, like, literally the whole house on your back, while you're
Literally.
also trying to smile through the PTA meetings and the doctor's appointments, your work calendar, your social calendar, your familial obligations, this episode is for you,
Yeah, sit back.
for
Sit back
sure,
and
for
relax,
sure.
honey. Find
Yeah,
something to drink, get your comfortable clothes on, because we about to go there. We about to
we're
go
gonna
there.
go.
So let's set the scene, right? So for me, I think I mentioned before, I've been married for 24 years. That is what, 2 decades and some change, right? And that seems like a very long time. We've got three wonderful children. Two are in college, and then we have our little one that's in eighth grade. So we are in a different season. I am not the same woman. I'm not the same wife, and I'm not the same mother as when I walked down the aisle 24 years ago. And my husband is not as well. Things have changed for us, but that happens. I know your wedding was a little different, but I've always planned it to be big, and it took us at least a good 8 months to get exactly what we wanted and what we needed in order for us to have a beautiful, huge wedding. I think the total was like 550 guests.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
550 guests. But that was based off of who we knew, who
Yeah.
our parents knew. And we come
'Cause
from
it's
really,
a it's
really
a
big
social
families.
status. It's social status.
Of course, look, I was a preacher's kid and my dad announced it proudly in the pulpit. proudly. He was like, "Look, I'm gonna need y'all to get y'all RSVPs in because me and Gladys got a bill, so we need to know exactly what."
Listen, that is so
Yes,
funny.
I remember all of that. I remember all of that. So,
Oh.
what about you? Share your big day.
Ah, okay. Total opposite of yours. Okay, let me just say this. My wedding was very small, less than 20 people, and that included the person who was officiating and immediate family because my thing was I can't leave you out if I don't include you in. So nobody was really included. It was when I say immediate family, it was immediate family, my grandma, my parents, one of my aunts, we had to bring my grandma. That's the only reason why she got to come. My two very best friends in life, my work best friend who actually just helped me set up. We got married outside at the gazebo on the army base. So it was $25 for the reverend. It was like $50 for the gazebo, and I treated myself. And I was like, I got $100. Let me double the time so we could take our time setting up and breaking down. One of my homegirls from work did marriage decorating on the side, so she was like, "I'm not invited, and I'm not gonna get you nothing. This is my gift for you. I'll set up the gazebo." And I was like, "Go off."
Oh.
So that was it. But looking back, talking about parents and the parents' expectations, I'm glad we didn't want anything big, but also I think my choice to have it small was solely because my mother expected something big. My mother was very clear when I told her I was going to get married, the unhappiness, let's just start there.
Mm.
But when I told her that I was going to get married, it was her moment. And she was very clear that she needed to be able to walk down the aisle and be the mother of the bride and have that moment with her dress, all eyes on me kind of thing. And I was just like, since you got a husband, go do it up. Because that just wasn't what Hubs and I wanted. And so I think part of that was maybe in rebellion to that. But when I tell you, I'm so glad we did it that way. And
Mhm.
I was telling somebody here recently who was asking some advice about getting married, and I told them how we picked our wedding day. Our anniversary is what's today? Friday. Our anniversary is Sunday.
Ah,
And I
happy
know. Thank you.
anniversary.
Thank you,
Yeah.
girl. Listen. And
I had to throw that in there.
it was a thank you. That made my day. That made my day. But we set our wedding date based off of payday because we worked at the same place and we had the same paydays. And we was like, now when we gonna have some money so we can go out to eat and do something. So that's how we set our
Right.
wedding day. And it could not have been more perfect. It could not have been more perfect. And I want to
Mhm.
tell you, between my wedding dress, the venue, and I think I found it was a lady. I don't know how I got in touch with this lady, but she was like, I really want to be a photographer. I'm not that good. I'm just getting started. Can I do your pictures? I was like, yep. Like
Mhm.
between everything, I did not
Yeah.
even pay $500 for the whole wedding. And I think that
Mhm.
included my husband's ring too. Like when I tell
Mhm.
you,
Mhm. Mhm.
it
Mhm.
was just and looking back, I'm so glad we did that. Like it was just
Yeah.
perfect for us. It was
Yeah.
intimate, it was special. And we ain't even gonna talk about the fact that sis was a whole maybe okay, we got married in March, April, May, June, July, August. So I was knocking on about 5 months pregnant on my wedding day too.
I don't think you told did you I don't think you told me that.
I mean, yeah.
Sound like a shock
So
to
that
me.
that was
Right.
that was interesting as well. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so that was our day, but it was wonderful. It was girl, and it was so wonderful. Like I was boohooing the whole time. I couldn't even talk to lady. Can you just nod your head? And I was just not. I was nodding everything everywhere.
Right.
And it was so funny because we girl. And when I tell you, I'm gonna tell y'all something. One of my hidden talents is finding things that have high value, but not paying value for them. That high value for them. So when I tell you, listen, I found the cheapest minister on the when the state gave us that paper and was like, pick these people. I was like $25. So like we was on a budget. We made it
Yeah.
work. And the
Yeah.
lady who officiated us, Doctor Reverend Tatum, she stayed in touch with us for years. Her and my mother-in-law hit it off. They would go to lunch together. She was just like, it was something about y'all. Of all the
Mhm.
people I've married, it was just something about y'all that it just stuck with me. Like it was just perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, I didn't mean to
And
belabor that.
oh, no, not at all, not at all. It just goes to show you that the dreams that we have and then
Mhm.
whatever our reality of that day is, it should be exactly what we want it to be. And
Mhm.
it could range from under a gazebo to 550 people.
Girl, I that when you said that, I was like, I don't even know 500. Do I know 500 people? I'm sure my mama would have found 500 people, let me tell you.
It was nice. It was, and we still look back on videos and look at the pictures, and it was nice. It was nice.
That's so good.
But the vows that we
Mhm.
took on that day, yeah, people just take them, right? People just use them as
Yeah,
words. And
yeah.
then when you really have to live out those vows,
Listen, like my mama used to say, "When mad day come, 'cause mad day gonna come."
it's gonna
When
come.
listen, when
And
mad day,
it's gonna
broke
come that,
day,
you know,
sick
sometimes
day, all
all
of
of
it.
that, all of that. And when it comes, it's not what you even expect it to be, because health issues could come up, financial
Mhm.
issues could come up, tragedy can come up,
And tragedy
um,
can look like so many
so
things,
many
like,
things.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh, so many things,
yeah,
but
yeah.
look, can I squirrel off of that for a second?
Man,
'Cause it's so funny that we're talking about this week. So in my upper level class this week, we were actually talking about emerging adulthood and all the different milestones that come with that, the social clock. Oh, when should I move out? When should I get married? That kind of thing.
mm,
And so
mm,
I was asking them, like, what it like reimagining what adulthood looks like in 2025 when the economy is trash, right? When you can't
mm,
maybe afford your own place or whatever. We were talking about all these different social constructs. But one of the things that I asked them that I want to ask you is this. I've asked my husband this too. As a wife, that two questions. As a wife that has been married 2 decades and some change, as you said.
correct.
How do you defend, justify, explain the value in getting married to people who maybe are not really big on getting married, or if they're just like, why should I get married? Like, how would you justify that? And then the other question I want to ask you is about shacking up, but we're going to
Mhm,
get to that later. So in 2025, especially with adulthood looking the way it looks now, the economy looks the way it looks now, people's mindsets have really shifted from what we consider a traditional
yeah,
footprint. How
yeah.
would you justify to the younger generation or to other people who are looking at you as the elder in this space? And what is the value in marriage?
It has to be what they deem it to be, because that's going to be different for everyone. I don't think that I could justify that. And the reason why I say that is because I was the one who said, oh, yeah, you got to get married. You have to do that. Because, like you said, that social construct was you go to school, you date, you get married, and you have kids. That is what, again, the thing that I saw as examples, that's what I saw. And so that's what I knew we had to do. My mom got married. My mom got married at 20, in her mid 20s. And I got married at 24, 25. I had my first child 26, and then second child 28, and then had Aaliyah at 30 something. What's that? First come
Tough
marriage, then
love.
come, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I knew. That's what I knew. So to be able to justify to people now, and like
Mhm.
you said, finances will play a lot in that.
Yeah.
Are you financially able to get married? Where you gonna live? You gonna live in your
Of
parents'
course.
basement? Right?
Listen, right. You gonna move your wife into your bedroom that you had at your mama house? That's cute.
With those stuffed animals that,
Your posters on the wall. But you
right?
know what's so funny in that? Oh, I lost my train of thought. When you said the first comes love, then comes marriage, just this idea that things have to be a very specific way, especially for women. I don't
Yes.
feel like men have that burden so much, but women, there's just this expectation that you are a virgin until you get married, then you get married, then you have the babies, and all of a sudden you become this beast that you
Yes.
don't have any experience of how to become. But the
Automatically no.
expectations, you're supposed to know. And so my model, my mom got married when she was like 17, 18, like fresh out of high school. And my parents been married over 50 years, and girl, it was just like this, it was just always understood that marriage was the end goal,
Mm,
end goal, end goal in
mm,
life. And when I think what kind of, I think looking back, I can honestly say I think part of the disappointment that my mom felt in looking at my life was that I didn't do status quo in any regard. And so I can
mhm.
remember I had to sell my mother on the idea of me getting married, because when I told her that Hubs and I decided to get married, like her reaction was not happiness. It was just not. And I was sharing with my class this week, funny story, like when my husband asked my dad for my hand in marriage, because he did, my dad told him no. And which is it was a very awkward day because we had planned this whole family outing. So it was mostly Hub's family and my dad and my older son.
Yeah.
We decided we were going to go. This was the year that the Atlanta Falcons were doing amazing. And so his family had, my in laws had got season ticket. And so we were going to go watch this game in Atlanta. And we had invited my dad along. And Hubs picked that day to ask for my
Oh,
hand. And
oh, he said
um, listen,
no.
Poppy said no. Pops said no and said no and walked. I was like, what did you say after that? He was just like, I'm gonna marry her anyway. But my dad was in the
Right,
wind because he said what he
right,
needed to
right.
say and he was gone.
He was gone.
And
He was
so
gone.
immediately my dad came and found me. Immediately he came and found me because he was at my house somewhere. And he came and found me and he was like, you really trying to marry this knucklehead? Like he just, and I was just like, wait, what happened? And he was just like, you for real about this? And I was just like, yeah. And it was just like, and he didn't say anything after that. That was it. And so we
So
like
there was
talk about an
still
awkward
never a yeah?
talk about an awkward ride to Atlanta. Let me tell you. And what's funny in that, and my mom wasn't happy either. My mother was
Uh-huh.
not happy. My mother, I think looking back, I think she wanted the fairy tale. And I feel like she felt because she didn't get it, I was her last chance to get that fairy
Oh,
tale.
yeah.
And that sounds cute, don't it? It's not. Because that's guess what? Make your own fairy tale. Don't live your fairy tale through me. Make your own
Yeah.
fairy tale. You could have redone your vows 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 years if that's what you wanted to do, instead of trying to have this vicarious moment through me with these unrealistic expectations for me, because that's not what I wanted. Like now, we laugh about those things now
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because in the last few years, my parents have just been like, oh my gosh, he is the most wonderful man. We are so
Yeah.
glad y'all are together. We are so glad you married him. Like, he is such a good guy. He is such a good son in law. They love him to death. But it was a
Yeah.
little rough in the beginning. It was a little rough
It
in the
wa it
beginning.
sound like
And
it.
girl, when I tell you, like, my husband, he's that dude because, like, my parents can make people crumble, girl. Let me tell you something. My pastor used to say, my mom would tell you to go to hell so smooth, you be halfway there sweating, don't it? You be like, why am I hot? Where does sweat come from? And then you be like, did she told me to go to hell. And I sat here and skipped over here and went, that's my mama's energy.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we were able to do our own thing. But I remember my mom, I had to explain to her. So to give you my answer to the question that I asked you, my mom, I think she was looking for the fairy tale for the white knight to ride off into the
Yeah.
sunset and save me, the picket
Why not
fence,
black
all
guy?
these things. And I remember having this conversation with her because she was not happy about it. And
Yeah.
she said to me, you have not known him long enough for me to know him as well as I need to know him for you to marry him. And I was just like,
What?
and I remember telling her, we argued back and forth and we talked about it. And I remember telling her, like, it's not about you, it's
Yeah.
about me. And I think where we just kind of like where I left it at, because I was like, I'm getting nowhere. And she will bring this up to this day if you ask her. But where we left it at, I said, you know what? At some point, you're going to have to trust that you raised me well enough to be able to make decisions on my own. And if you don't trust me
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
raised to make good
Yeah.
decisions, then that's not really about me. That's about you.
But you know
Um,
what? And okay, so put a pin right there because that sparks a perspective that you had that notion to say it's not about you. But think about so many others who hear what their parents say and then do it because they want to please their
Please their
parents.
parents. Yeah.
So they would not marry the person because their mom said no, or their dad
Mhm.
said no.
Yeah.
And it would end after the dad said no. And just imagine
Ooh,
how they have lived their lives knowing that could have been the one for them, the one that got away, look, the one that was pushed away pretty much. So I applaud you to even have what is it, a foretell, the no tell, the
rebellious nature.
Well,
That's
yes,
what it
that
is.
is what you are. That is what you are. That is
I'm a
exactly
rebel
what
just for kicks now.
you
Shoot.
okay, but that is okay. I'm sorry. So yeah, go ahead, keep
No,
doing,
that
and
was,
then
I mean,
then
that's it.
I'll go back.
But and I will say again, and I think too, it was fear because I was doing something different. It was uncharted. They didn't know what that looked good. And
Mm,
I'll admit this, like our love story ain't maybe for the faint of heart because I think you did things in a more traditional way. I didn't. And like I said,
yeah,
I was very pregnant on my wedding
yeah,
day. I had a older son. That's not my husband's, and I was very pregnant on my wedding day. And our relationship just moved very fast, but it felt right.
yeah.
It felt good. It just, when we met, it just fell into place and
Well,
everything just worked out. And I know that I am blessed. I know that I
yeah,
am fortunate. I know I have a damn good husband, and I don't take that for granted. I don't take that lightly. And I know those results are not typical.
yeah.
And I know that. But when I tell you we met, and once I got in my head, like because when I first met my husband, nothing about him said husband because that's not what I
Mm.
was looking for.
Oh gosh, look, if we
That was
went
just,
that far,
listen, that is not what I was looking for when I met my husband. I had just bought a house
yeah,
when I met my husband. It was
yeah.
me. So Kelly has a CJ and I have a CJ. So me and my CJ had just moved in this house. We was living life. Life was good. I had a decent job. I was just about finished with my master's degree. Like life was life and I was doing
Mm,
good. And believe it or
mm,
not, I had actually got to a point in my life where I was like, I don't want a husband or a man right now because what you're not gonna do is jump on the coattails of the struggle and the success that I had because I hit a lot of
mm,
bumps along the way. And so
yeah.
my mindset was so shifted when I met him that wasn't on my radar. And I remember I had a work mom who was like, everybody got a work mom, a work wife, work husband, whatever. I had a work mom, and all of us were like, it was all women where I worked and one dude. And everybody had their work mom, and I was the last one on. So I just default got who was left, which was Miss Gloria. But that's all right. I like Glow Glow. But we were talking one day, and I never forget because Glow would tell it like it was, whether you asked her or, and we were talking about this and talking about that because Hubs worked at the place that we worked. We worked at the same organization. We were just in very different departments, so we didn't really overlap. And so they knew him more than I did because he had been working there for so much longer than I was. And so I remember them telling me, like, no, he's a pretty good dude. He's stable. Like, he got a good head on his shoulder. Ain't no mess with him. Like, he's a good dude. And I wasn't checking for that. And one day, Glow Glow looked at me and said, "You big dummy." But she was like, since I've known you, you've been talking about, oh, I want a good man. I want God to send me somebody. And she was like, that's a good man. And you gonna mess this up. And when she said that, it was like a switch went off. And like I
Mhm.
started seeing him from a very different way. Because I can admit my walls were still up. I was very guarded because of things I had been through. And then I had attained this level of success that I was just really protective of. And so I didn't, and he bless his heart. He was trying. I remember one time I told him, I was like, CJ want to go to the fair, so I'm gonna take him to the fair. He's okay, here go $40. And I was like, your money's no good here. Who asked you for that? And he just looked at me and I was just like, people just giving away money now. That's what we're doing. We're not. I didn't ask you for that. And I remember he was just like, I'm just trying to give you some money. And I was like, didn't ask you for that.
Right.
My wall was up because in my mind, you're asking me for something so you can get something back. And that's just
Mm,
where I was. And so I agree, he was trying. And I had just bought this house. I had something bad happen at my house. And he was like, I'm here, let me do this. And I'm like, why would you do that over here? I just was not there. And when she said that, it was like a switch
yeah.
went off. And I could immediately see all the things that he was doing to show me that he was in this, that he was
Mm.
a good person. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so that was a shift in our relationship for sure. For
Mm.
sure.
Wow.
Because if y'all haven't noticed, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of empirical data to back this, but word on the street is this could be a little bit of a handful.
Just a bit.
Just a tick. I don't know
Oh,
how it doesn't come through because of the platform, but
it does. I work with her, so it but you my girl, you my dog. And it's so funny because we are the total opposite. We are
oh girl, I
so
saw that today when we were texting today, and I was just like, you just gonna find a silver lining. And you was like, I try, and I'm like, but they don't deserve a silver lining. Don't give them one. And you like, no, I wish them the best. And I'm like, no, say it what it is. We are so opposite because I didn't even approach that with a silver lining. Like, oh my gosh, I hope
No.
they're okay. I was just like, karma. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Like, yeah, my words are omitted. I was like, what? I don't even know.
Look,
Okay.
I said my comments have been intentionally, what I said, intentionally deleted or something because I
Omitted.
have
You did
no omitted.
omitted.
I had nothing good to say.
Okay. All right. All right.
Sorry.
Let's get that right. Get us back
I'm
right.
good for a squirrel. Sorry.
You
Come
are,
on back.
but you are a handful. I do have to agree, but I love you. I love you down, honey. I love you down, honey. I love you down.
What's
Okay.
so
All right.
funny? Okay, let me ask you this real quick. Do
Yeah.
you see, because you said before, we're not the same people that we were when we got married, but do you see where marriage has, I don't want to say grown you, but evolved you or shaped you? Or because even you met me and I'm a handful. Imagine me pre Mister. Okay. Mister has actually brought me a level of center.
I don't
Can
even
you,
know why Mister even married you, right?
because I am, she is her and her is me. Let me
All
tell you
day
something, I'm the
long.
best thing
All
that
day.
ever happened to Mister. And
You are,
anytime that I think he
but I
almost is
don't. I
about
don't
to
think you
forget
knew
it,
that though. I don't think you knew that.
listen,
You didn't know that. You didn't know that then. You didn't know that, honey. He was
um,
giving you
I tell him daily.
$40.
I know. I just the experiences that I had, people did
Yeah,
stuff like that because they was
I
like,
get
"Oh,
that.
I'm gonna be able to hold this over you later."
I get that.
Oh,
Get
but
that.
yeah, it has definitely calmed me down and evolved me and grown me.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
Well, okay, and yes, so no, that question, it has grown me, but I think it's grown me in ways I did not want to be grown. Because when I tell you it has taken my marriage from the moment I met him, and I guess just a little background since you gave your background. I
please
met
do. Please share yours.
Cedric.
Yeah.
Yes, I met Cedric at Payne College, honey, PC one time here in Augusta. Oh my God, over however many years ago, but I met him. He was actually an incoming freshman and I was a senior, but we are
Not
only
the
6 months.
cougar.
Right, 6 months apart, 6 months apart. So that's why I have to say, okay, so he was a late starter, not me. He was late, so look, he know what he wanted to do with his life. So he graduated, I think it's in 95, I believe. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. But then he was playing. And look, he'll hear this later and say, that's not true. But he was playing with his life, right? While I was getting my life together. But yeah, he came in as an incoming freshman and I was a senior at the time. Look, honey, the first time I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, he about to be, and that was different from me because I am not that person at all. I
What
am
you
not
was saying? Said he about to be
right,
what? He about to be
right.
what?
I am not. I was definitely not. But I was like, oh my God, he's cute. Look, he had on his boys to men vest on and his little t-shirt. Honey, he was tall, he was dark, he was fine, honey. And I was like, yes,
Not the
this.
boys to men, but
Honey, we used to dog him because it was like a group of them, and they used to wear the vest and a t-shirt. Honey, we called them
long as
boys and men.
long as he didn't have a cane. He didn't have a cane, did he?
I
Because
know.
listen, that is funny.
Oh
No,
yeah, but
boys to
I
men
saw him in
best.
a cafeteria, and I was with my friends, and I was like, "Come on, who is this?" Even though I was not outgoing in that way, I really had to find one of our mutual friends and just ask some questions. So I found a mutual friend, and I did. I asked questions, and of course, he till this day says that he was the one that got us together. I reached out, and we finally met. And it was cool. It wasn't nothing, but the idea of, oh, he a freshman and I'm a senior, and I was like, I'm about to graduate. He just coming in. What is this? And I was a serious person. I was a serious person.
No, I can't even imagine that.
Shocker. Shocker.
Shocker.
So it was not about to be something like, okay, yeah, yeah, let's just play it. Just play it for a year because I'll be gone. And no, because that just was not me at all. And I didn't know where it would go. So we would talk, we would hang out or whatever. And then it got to be serious for me. He still played his little games because he did. I would walk outside and I would see him walking down the street with somebody else. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. And so then the next day I would confront him, and then he would do the boy thing, the man thing. It was like, no, it ain't, honey. I
That's
saw you
my
walking down the street.
friend.
I
That's
saw you
my
walking down
friend.
the street. Come on. So we did that back and forth or whatever. But when it got time for me to graduate, I think it had gotten to that because I think I gave him an ultimatum, and he'll say, "You gave me an ultimatum, so I had to make a decision." And so it got serious towards the end of the time for me to graduate. It was serious. So when I graduated, he was like, "Okay, well, you gone, so why am I still here?" And I'm like, "Are you not gonna finish school?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's not that serious."
I started late. I really didn't want to be here. I don't have to
He was
stay.
still
Fine.
playing.
Fine.
He didn't know.
Oh,
Bless his
how
heart.
old were y'all in y'all 20s during this part, or were y'all like
So,
late teens
yeah,
or
when I graduated, I was 21.
okay, okay.
And like I said, I'm 6, so I was born in September 76. Look, and this is crazy. My birthday is 9/12/76. His is 12/9/76. What?
Well,
What?
I'm gonna go play that on Cash for today. But go ahead.
I knew you was gonna say the numbers.
Listen, that might be my blessing. That you might be blessing me in more than
Well,
one
I
way.
need a cut. I need a cut, boo. I need a cut. But yeah, so I was like, oh gosh, I don't know where I stopped. Jeez. Okay. So he was like, if you're leaving, then there's no need for me to stay. And I'm like, oh, are you not going to finish school? So after I graduated, I immediately went to Clark Atlanta for my graduate degree. And that was in Atlanta. And he was like, look, I'm not going to stay. I think he stayed a semester. And he was like, yeah, I'm done. And I remember he moved back home. And then he was like, I'm just going to come down there and live in Atlanta. Like, do you have a plan? Do you have a
Right.
job?
And
He's
what?
like, no.
And to what?
Like, what are you doing? Here I
Yeah.
am. I'm on straight narrow path. I got goals. I know what I'm doing. And this joker is coming in with no plan, driving me crazy. So I remember, and the funny thing was, I'm fussing, but went to Greenville, got him, packed up his, and brought him to, and
With
at the
no
time,
plan. Him and his no plan self.
with no
You brought
plans,
them to
honey,
it.
no plans. He had no place to stay. I had to ask him, hey, can my friend move in your basement for a little while until he get his life together? And I'm saying, these are friends I got, honey. Look, shout out to people. Thank y'all for bringing my honey in.
Wow.
He stayed in their basement for, I don't even know, maybe a couple of months, 6 months. I don't know, but he did. So he moved in until he figured out what he was going to do. It was so funny. And so eventually he did end up getting a job. Look, Circuit City, honey, shout out to Circuit Cities.
Is this the nostalgia episode? My
Listen,
gosh, Circuit
listen, listen.
City. Boys to
Circuit City.
Men this.
Yes. Boys to Men Best. Circuit
That is
City.
hilarious.
So he was eventually able to get an apartment, and his friend moved down. He moved in with friends. So again, so he finally got some stuff together and some plans. I'm still in school, honey. Don't bother me. Don't bother my goals, because honey, you ain't about to you ain't about to mess.
Look, I will come get you and your stuff and I'll bring you down here with no plan, but what you're not going to do is derail my plan.
You
That's what
will
you're
not.
not going to do. You
You
will not.
will.
You will not. That's not allowed. That's not allowed.
So he did. He was still trying to figure things out. But even our relationship developed and our closeness started, and I saw something in him because even though he did not have a plan, he was a dreamer. And at that time, that
Yeah.
was really something good to me. Now
Mhm.
looking back, dude, why?
But you can do you that's a luxury you have in your 20s. It's not a
Yeah,
luxury you have in your 30s and 40s.
correct,
It's not.
correct,
But
correct,
you know
correct.
what? And it's funny you say that because that was one of the things that Hubs and I we talk about that all the time. Our favorite thing to do when we were dating would be to lay in the bed with the lights out. We would hold each other and we would dream. We would just
No,
dream. Where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, 3 years? Like we used to just dream and just say our dreams out loud and just girl, that was our we used to stay up. Girl, I don't know how we did it. We used to stay up. Sometimes we didn't even go to sleep, just talking, just having really wonderful conversations. And that was the first time I ever had a man that would just dream, that would just
yeah.
say, if everything was perfect, this is what I would do, or this is where
Mhm.
I see my like that was just so you talk about a dreamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
But
in your
okay, but I
20s?
have a
Yeah.
but I have a
Oh,
but if you dream and you keep dreaming, but you never pursue those dreams, then I don't believe those dreams anymore because all you do is dream, right?
I heard the hymn writer say, "Nothing comes to dreamers but dreams."
But what do you do with those dreams?
Honey, what happens to a dream deferred?
You know what? That is my dad's favorite poem.
It dries up like a raisin in the sun.
There you go.
But I
So
think
he was a
so did
dreamer.
you help him? Were you the person that kinda
I tried. I did. Honey, okay, let's get our pros and what can we do? What steps can we take? But going back to what your examples were, his dad was a worker. His dad worked, and that's all Cedric knew. And so, yeah, he dreamed, but he was about working, making sure he had a job. So he was never without a job. He worked. Again, going back to one of the previous episodes that we talked about, what you knew is what you saw, right? So he saw his dad work, but there was nothing outside of that. So, yeah, you dream, but you need to make sure you working, right? And
'cause rent due on the first, you better have your
correct,
portion.
you know, and I just don't know if he I don't know if he knew how to do anything outside of just dreaming, how to get to those dreams. I know because we talked about everything and we still do. He wanted a family, he wanted that picket fence, two children. We decided on three. We want three children, a dog, picket fence, the good life. And he knew how to do that by working. But anything outside of that, I guess that's where the frustrations lied. And that could have been a derailment in our marriage, but it wasn't. And I don't know why, because it frustrated the heck out of me. It really did. It frustrated the heck out of me, but it was not. And I tell you, the more he dreamed, the more he realized, the more we grew, the more years came by. We had children. I think we had the boys. And he realized maybe I can do something more. Maybe I can, other than working. Maybe I can start this business. And he was such a dreamer. He has notebooks of stuff, right? Of this is what I can do. This is what I can do. And me, okay, come on, let's put this in motion. He always fell back on working. So I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. The one moment he decided to step out on his dream, our life turned upside down. And that is when he got the diagnosis of Parkinson's at the age of 39. And I think that part destroyed him more because he finally was able to move on one of the many dreams. And now this diagnosis has literally turned life around. And what can I do with this dream? He was diagnosed at the age of 39 with Parkinson's. We did not know what the heck Parkinson's was. All we know is that that was the old people disease, the shaking disease, because that's what we knew. Had no clue. Had no clue what our life was about to be and was about to become. So I want to hit back on your question really quickly. How do I justify marriage where I am right now? I can't. I can't. Do I still believe in marriage? Absolutely. Would I change anything? Nope. But where we are in 2025, I can't. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I can't. Would I encourage my children to find that relationship? But I want them to do what is best for them. Direction that we took may not be what that is. Now, would I love to be a part of a wedding and seeing my children get married and go through that process of love, marriage, and children? Of course I would. But I don't think that I would be able to say you got to do it this way. I hope that answers. Did that
I
answer
think
your
I
question?
think, yeah, that was your answer is your answer, but I think that was real and people they need to hear. Illness is a thing that you don't think about. You don't even think about it when you're having your kids. You just assume your kids are going to be healthy and perfect and wonderful, and an illness can derail your plans. And we don't typically think about that in our marriages either. So I think that was a real answer, and that's your reality. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't. I absolutely cannot.
But do you feel
So
my mom always used to say this because thinking about my parents' marriage, I remember my mom used to say the ride was worth the fall on a lot of
mm,
things. Is that kind
mm,
of how you feel though? I don't know if I can necessarily justify it, but you said it yourself, I wouldn't change anything.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
So
As hard as this has and continue to be, I would not. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't. And I just need the record to show that I love your mom.
you want her?
Mm, no, I have my own, but I love your
There
look, I
might
love
be an
your mom for
opening.
you.
There for me, you love her for me. I was gonna say there may be an opening. Maybe an opening. Slide you in.
Opening. Okay, so look, I'm telling you, this is why it's gonna be 2 episodes. The way this time, look, it might be 3. So we wanted to set the scene to at
Yeah.
least give you our beginning. Like Lillian says, it's not always a fairy tale, right?
No.
When we are young and we dream of what our fairy tale life is, that reality sometimes is not. Sometimes it is for those. And I tip my hat off to you all, but sometimes it just does not lead to that. I was given many hats to wear. I was a wife, caregiver, I was a mom, I was a nurse, I became an advocate, still trying to figure out where Kelly stood,
Mm.
right? Because that is when I became lost in the sauce, pretty much. Just trying to now figure out where in the world is our life going to be and going to go from this point forward. So let's move on to talking about the myth of balance and the reality of burnout. What you
So
think?
let me just go ahead and say this balance is a lie. No one is giving
No.
equal energy to every role. And it's just not even something we should attain to do. We were talking about this week in my class, and I told them because people who are not married love to say marriage is 50-50. And I'm very quick to remind people I had a friend back in the day who used to say marriage is the only inequality that equals equality. And the inequality is that you can't a half in a marriage don't equal a whole. It has to be
Mm,
100 with flexibility. And this is exactly what you're talking about. And I know for my marriage, there are days when I have 100% and there are days when I don't. And it's still
mm,
got to equal
mm,
whole. It's still got to be whole. The family still has to keep going. Bills still got to be paid. The house has to keep running. And there are days when I'm on E. There are on days when I'm in the negative. There are days when I'm on IOU. But the things have to keep going. And those are the times when my husband's 100 has to then be multiplied to encompass the part that I can't carry. And so there is no balance, I think, implies that at some point there's levelness or there's equality. And it never I don't think that's even something you can obtain to. I think you just have to do the best you can with what you got. There are days when from pre-K until 6th grade, my husband had 100% of the scholastic part of our son's life because logistically it just made sense for him to do drop off and pick up. Sometimes I would be teaching night classes or I'd be traveling for work, doing all these things. I wouldn't be here. So he would have to do it all. And he had to do it, right? There were just things that had to be done. And then you throw in maybe a familial illness or familial
mm,
setback, then that
mhm,
shifts those dynamics too. So balance implies there's going to be a level of equality, I think, in these things. And I have to remind myself, and I want to say it out loud to put it in the atmosphere like, that not having balance does not mean you don't have a good marriage. You just got to do what works for you. And think about the different aspects of our lives too. There are aspects in my life or even our dynamic. There are places where Hubs definitely has to take the lead and he's at 100%. There are times in different places that I have to take the lead and I'm at 100%. And the beauty of being, oh, dare I say, equally yoked with
Mhm.
someone is that you find those places where those differences align. So the things that typically wind me up don't wind him up. And we can't both be wound up about the same thing.
Right.
That's where the imbalance comes from. But
Yeah.
typically, where he is here, I'm here, and in some kind of way, it just balances things out. I don't want to use the word balance, but it evens things out or it lets things keep going. So I don't think people should look for this quote unquote work life or marriage life balance. It just realistically, we just do what we can and what we got to do. Sometimes you got to be tagged in, and sometimes you can afford to tag out. And in your situation, you don't have no tag out. There's no tag out, and you just have to make it work.
What before the diagnosis, he worked retail. So working retail, you work all kinds of times, right? You can work days, you can work nights. And
Mm,
so th- you talk about balance is a lie, balance is a straight lie because there were times, more times than none, that I still had to work. I was the homework help, I was the picker upper from school, I was rushing because the boys were in football. I mentioned before, sometimes those practices were at two different locations at the same time. So where I would have my tag team, it was me. Thank God for my sister because her daughter was in cheers. So at least I had some help. That tag team just was not there because he worked. He needed to work
yeah,
because, again, those bills need to be paid. But I
right,
was doing homework. I was staying up late
yeah,
doing projects. When they got sick, I had to figure out because he couldn't. Though
mm,
retail is sometimes you don't accrue sick leave. So it was me who had to either stay home or I was taking my to work with me, figuring out. But it was all, and I hate to say always, but it was mostly me trying to figure out what
yeah,
to do. But when he was there, all hands on, he was the basketball coach for my boys. After football was done, now basketball. And so he was their basketball coach. So then I knew I could have a little break because he was the one taking them on the practices and whatever. And the more he worked and then the higher positions that he was able to get in, then he was able to have a set schedule at work. And then that's when Aaliyah came. And so he was the one who said, okay, what do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do. And there was my balance. There was my tag team. So before the diagnosis, it was that 100 and then him down here. But then it became
it
right
ebbs
there.
and
It
flows.
was
Yeah.
look years down the road, but it was there.
And the other thing about balance too, right? If we're gonna keep using that word, I'm gonna put me a thesaurus over here somewhere so I can get some synonyms. But balance also could be there are, and I'm guilty of this. There are times when I am killing it in my career. I'm killing it with my kids because I'm the favorite parent. But then there are times that I can be the favorite parent while also me and my husband ain't speaking to each other. There are times when we have hit an L in our marriage
Mhm.
and the house don't even know it because they sometimes my son is, oh, you're the best mom ever. And I know husband's looking at me like, and vice versa. There have been
Yeah,
times when Hubs and I are in a really good space, when things are just we are so aligned and we are just moving in unison and synchrony and everything is great and the house is filthy. I ain't cooked
yeah,
in 2 weeks. Like laundry is piling up, the grass needs more, but our marriage is in this little place and we are riding the wave. So it doesn't always have to be duties per se, but it could also be different facets, different elements, right? There are times when he and I are just Wonder Twin powers activate and we riding and the boys looking at us like, I don't like either one of y'all. And and I have a bonus daughter. And let me tell you something, y'all. So in addition to being the mother of a bonus daughter, I also have a son that is not my husband's. Navigating other people in your marriage,
oh yeah,
it can throw off the scales as well. Because for many years, there was a baby daddy that had to be factored into some decisions or factored out of some decisions. And then on his side, there was a baby mama paying child support,
yeah.
all the
Mhm.
things. You may be doing good in one area, but then another area isn't. And that's okay. And that's why I think we got to get out of this idea that things have to be balanced. Because hell, even a unicycle will roll with one wheel.
You better
You know
say
what I'm
it.
saying? So sometimes you all you got is that one wheel you can roll on. And I really want another word other than balance, but because I think balance implies something that maybe is a for some people it's maybe unattainable because balance implies equality and it may not be that way for everyone, but I just don't have another word for it for today.
Yeah, but I think that even when we're trying, because I think that we're mentally thinking that it should be balanced. So I think
Mhm.
even trying to move towards trying to mentally feel and trying to mentally think that we're balanced, I believe that's where the burnout comes in because
Absolutely.
trying
Yeah.
so hard
I gotta
to
make it
get it.
level. I gotta make
Yeah,
it equal.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But I realized after I was doing all those things, I was running on empty.
Listen, fumes, as the folks would say, fumes.
Honey, fumes, honey,
Um,
look, and I'm quick to ride on fumes, but look, I know my body can't do it, my car can, my body can't.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm crying in the shower because I'm like, "What? What?
Look, you had oh,
What?"
you took showers?
Look, when it
You
was
took a shower? Girl, I can remember, and so this is why, again, it's so good to have a partner that you can have hard conversations with and communicate things with. Because I remember it was one time in our marriage where we were both trying to do something. We both had career and personal goals that we wanted to achieve. And I can remember a very specific period of time in our marriage, we were two ships just passing in the night because it wasn't that we were mad, it wasn't that we weren't like loving each other, it wasn't that we weren't in harmony, but like girl, I was trying to get into teaching and do this pivot in my career. And the only way I could do that, I had to teach like these late night classes, and it was like 4 days a week, and it would be like something stupid from 7 to 10 or something like that. So like I would some days I would just stay at my other job because I would try to come home and at least have a meal with my family before I left. But sometimes I was just like, I don't all that ripping and running. So sometimes I would just sit at work, even though I would
Yeah,
get off at 5, I would just sit
yeah,
there until time for me to go to a job, and then I would just go straight there. And then there was a time when he was working a second job, trying to get some things, trying to see if he could do a transition in his career. And so he was working a second job, and we would just come home and like, love you, bye. Some days we would just like high five each other on the way past, and he would head out
right.
the door and I would head in. And so and I think the only reason that worked is because we had a conversation. And I remember very intentionally us setting a parameter and saying, we will do this, but only for this amount of time. So we knew it
Mhm.
wasn't going to be a long time. We knew it wasn't going to be forever, but we were like, okay, we're going to give this many months. And if we're not able to do that, then we're going to have to regroup because we knew we couldn't sustain it. We knew we couldn't maintain that long term.
Yeah.
Um, but we touched and agreed, as the old folks would say, that that was best at the time. And so that's what we did. We just operated in this space where, and we would talk on the phone. My husband is so loving. And we had that quote unquote intimacy in other ways, but that
Mhm.
physicalness, we were just like,
Yeah.
love you,
Passing
bye.
out.
Love you,
Right,
bye. We made it to the
right.
next thing. So that's a part of it too. When you having to do things, sometimes your schedules don't align. God, I don't see how people do swing shifts. But when you work a job with a swing shift or a job where your relief got to come before you can leave and you don't never know, those things can impact the percentages as well or upset the balance, so to speak, as well. And can lead to
Mm.
burnout.
Yeah, burnout, and then guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt. And that guilt will eat you alive because something is falling by the wayside. You're ripping and running, you're trying to be everything to everyone. You get burned out, you're running on fumes, you're losing yourself quietly.
Yes.
No one sees you
Mhm.
because you still trying to hold it up for everybody
Cause
else.
we are trained to make struggle look good. And so no one knows on the inside you are dying, you are depleted, you are decaying, and no one sees it because we make struggle look good. We make struggle look easy and we get things done. And girl, I can remember like hitting a low point in my life and nobody knew. No, I don't even think my husband knew how bad it was. And the only
Mm,
reason why it actually came to the light is because, and this was not that many years ago, I was doing my coaching program and we used to have to coach each other to get our hours and stuff in. And
mhm.
I'll never forget one of my cohorts, Tab, we were talking, and honey, I don't even remember what she said, but whatever she said, it the honey, the plug came out and everything spilled out. And she was just like, wait a minute, what? And
Right.
I can remember like oversharing, but I can remember being like, I don't even know when I took a shower last. I was
Yeah.
tired. I was
Yeah.
depressed.
Yeah.
I was just in this really negative space. And I hid so much from my kids. I hid so much from
Yeah.
my husband. I hid stuff from people at work. Nobody knew I was struggling. Nobody knew what I was going through because I just knew how to hide it very well. And having that conversation with her, and she was like, wait a minute, you're not even doing this. And I was like, no, when's the last time you did this? I don't know. What's today?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
nobody knew because we make struggle look good. We
Yeah.
we again put that S on our chest and we keep going and nobody knows. People at work don't know that you sorting through their laundry and okay, I think I could put this back on. They don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they don't know.
It's that invisible load. That
Yes.
invisible load.
And
Um,
oh girl,
yeah. Yeah. I look, I oh, look, are we gonna get through this one?
it's emotional. Girl, it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
emotional because
Yeah. Yeah.
I can remember when you single. You get a different set of
Oh
energy.
god.
When you're
Oh
married, the energy changes, and I can
god.
remember, thinking like, "When's the last time we hugged? And when's the last time we
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute." And
Yeah.
sometimes and I used to hear the old married women at work talking about, "Ooh, that's just one more thing to do, girl." Me and my single friend would be like, "Let me have yours, because I can't get enough over here." We didn't understand that, and then now
Yeah.
that she and I are both wives, we're like, "Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah."
Oh, that's what that means.
Because there's
Right. Right.
expectations, but there's other people's feelings I gotta consider here, and they don't that's the part that the elders don't tell you when they're telling you you should get married and be a wife and be a mom. They don't tell you that there are gonna be days when you don't like each other, when you don't wanna hear their voice, when you like, "Are you blinking again?" If you don't stop breathing, like it
Breathing.
is
Yes.
just that
Breathing.
level. It is just that level, and nobody talks to you about that.
Mhm.
Nobody tells you that you're just gonna have to be like, "You know what?" I remember I had a friend tell me once, but I remember her telling me she had been married twice, and I remember her telling me when I was telling her about me and Hubs, and we were thinking about getting married and all these things, and just talking to different people, getting advice and all these different things, and I remember her saying, "Marriage is not a fairy tale. It's not the butterflies and the sweeping off your feet every day. It is a choice. It is a conscious choice to say, I am promising you before God, before our family, before the people that we love and hold dear, that every day I will choose you. Even when the world around us is crumbling, I vow that I will be here tomorrow and we'll figure it out. I'm not going to
Yeah.
walk away." It's those hard things that nobody really talks to you about. And my parents never presented marriage to me that way. And I think that's why it was hard for them to see marriage in a different way because when Hubs and I talked about getting married, it was almost like a business decision. It was almost like, let's leave the emotions out of it because there's going to be a day when I can't stand you.
Woo,
And there's
child.
going to be a day when you don't like me. But what is it that we're willing to do to overcome that? My promise to you is every day I'll show up. My
Yeah.
promise to you is every day I will be here. I won't walk
Yeah.
away. And
Yeah.
that's the part nobody tells you. And so, what I've really been encouraging this younger generation to do is have hard conversations. Instead of you worrying about getting flued out and, oh, it's my first date at Applebee's. How about, can we go somewhere where we can just
Cheesecake
sit
Factory.
and
Cheesecake
talk?
Factory. That's the thing. The
Oh,
Cheesecake
excuse me,
Factory.
Cheesecake
Remember
Factory, right?
that?
My bad. Let me get a but it's making those conversations matter. It's talking about finances. Now, when you get paid, do you pay all your bills? You pay them on time? What's your credit score looking like? Those kind of
Child.
conversations. When you get mad, are you the person who's like, you know what? Let me sit with this for a minute. I'll talk to you. Or are you the person, no, we got to hash it out now. And that was a dynamic in my marriage. The biggest thing for me was learning to not always be in control. I've been a
Mm.
single parent for all of my adult life at that point. It took forever for me to find this rhythm that fit me and CJ. And we were in that rhythm. And here comes this person, a great person, but here comes this person with their own ideas and their own expectations and their own ways of doing things. And I'm like, you disrupting the flow. And it took me some time to realize I can't, like, I got to let go and take the help. and let somebody else do. I was so used to driving that I didn't know what it felt
Yeah.
like to ride. And I
Yeah.
had to let go of that steering wheel and get out that driver's seat and say, you know what? I'm making this promise to trust you. I gotta be okay with you driving. Let me see where you're gonna take me. And that was a learning thing for me. The biggest blowout we had in our marriage was, girl, me and CJ were talking about this the other day. Girl, CJ had gotten in trouble for something and he was on punishment. And Hubs knew he was on punishment. It was fine, whatever. A weekend or long weekend or something happened. And CJ came to me and he said, I know I'm on punishment, but this thing, that thing, how do you feel about this? And I was just like, okay, it made sense for whatever we were doing or whatever was going on. I was like, okay, that's fine. You can do this. Honey,
Mm-mm.
my husband came home and saw CJ doing said thing. And I don't even remember what the thing was, but he saw him doing said thing. And he came right in there to me and he said, he in there doing that? And I was like, oh yeah, he had came in here and he had told me this. He telling me this, telling me that. He say once he with me, right? All the things.
Why? Why?
I don't know. And honey, my husband looked at me and said, you didn't ask me. Who you
Oh
talking
God.
to? Who you talking to? Girl, when I tell you, I was in the garage doing something. When I tell you the foundation shook, because first of all, this is my
Who are you
child.
talking to? Right.
Listen, who are you talking to? And that was my child. That ain't got nothing to do with you. But looking back, it was just that we did not communicate that very clearly. And looking back, I was wrong. I was wrong
You were.
because I should have communicated and said, hey, I know what we said. I know what we're doing. This thing came up. This is why it makes sense. So I've agreed to do this. I should have let him know what was going on. And I just didn't think to do that at the time. It just happened so fast. And he's my son. I'm used to saying yay or nay anyway. I just didn't think about it. And girl, when I tell you after that, girl, I call him everything but a child of God. I did. Honey, I showed
Wow.
out so bad I couldn't do nothing but get in the car and I was riding around. I called my dad. I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure he gonna leave me. And my daddy said, what did you do? And I told him what happened. He said, ooh, yeah, you was
Right.
wrong.
Right. Right.
He said, you was wrong on that one. You was
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
And when I got back home, look, tiptoeing in the house, he was still there. We end up talking about it. And it taught me I cannot expect, if we are going to be in a partnership, I cannot control everything. But I was afraid because that was the only way I knew to have functionality was to control everything. I had a baby daddy who I couldn't trust. I couldn't even trust him to keep up with a house key. And you want me to
Mhm.
let you be responsible of a child?
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
do that. And so that was hard for me. But that's something no one talked to me about. Now I know that. And I tell young people that you ain't, honey, when you done tripped on a Nike slide for 5 times after you done told them to pick it up and it's still down there and now your whole baby toenail gone because you just done skid it across the bathroom floor, you got to look at this person and still love them and be
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
I've asked you 16 times to pick that Nike slide up. And what I'm hearing you say is you want to go in the trash, right? You have to be able to communicate those things and have love after that. And you don't, they make you get a license to drive a car. They make you get a license to go fish, right? There is a marriage license, but there's not a whole lot of preparation that comes with that. That driver's license, there's practice,
A
there's
book.
hours, there's instruction, there's rules on the fishing and gaming website about what you
Yep.
can do, what you can't
Yep.
do.
Yep.
Marriage, it's just like
Everything else comes with instructions except for
everything
marriage and motherhood.
and
Yep.
motherhood.
Yep. Yep.
And those
Yep.
are the most important things.
The most look, that's your life. That is your
Uh,
life. And so when you talk about taking control or having control, I was controlling as well. And not so much
that never
controlling.
came through in what you told us. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was controlling to the part of going back to the plan. He didn't know how to look at this. I'm really dating ourselves. Balance a checkbook. He didn't know how to balance a checkbook. Finances. I had savings coming in. Savings. What are savings? What? What is that?
There's stuff left.
Right. We had bills to pay. So how are we again? I'm still focusing back on what I saw. my parents were together. They had their book, their budget book, and they would write off, check off everything that needed to be paid. And that's what I'm
Sit
thinking.
down
I got
together.
my
Look, sit
little
down together, calculated
Right. I mean,
everything.
literally, I had my little
Yeah.
spreadsheet, and so I was like, "Honey, I'm the spreadsheet queen, boo." And I was like, "Okay, Cedric, what are we gonna pay out of this? Oh, think the money was okay. Do we have this?" And like I said, nobody taught you this. Do we have the same accounts or do we have separate accounts? And so we decided we're just gonna put our money together because hey, it's just gonna go in one pot, and I have a budget, and this is what we're gonna work with. And I had all of this together, and he kept saying, "Kelly, if you're doing everything, what am I left to do?" And so me and my little reckless mouth, well, you
No.
ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing. I gotta step up. Somebody gotta do it. Oh, it was so wrong. Oh, it was so wrong. It was so wrong. Again,
This thing right here.
honey,
This
reckless.
thing
It's
right
reckless.
here.
It's reckless. And I was like, okay, so then, okay, what do you do? And so I did. I had to look. My first time in my life, I had to shift back and say, okay, what are what are we doing? But again, that's still those roles, those traditional roles, and because that's what I was raised on. So if you don't do it as the man of the household, then
I gotta do it.
you-
And a lot of times I do it without even giving you an opportunity to do it because so
and
I
that's
had
what
a
it was. I did not give
I
him the opportunity to do it.
no
I did.
opportunity.
I didn't.
Or this idea of perfection. I knew someone who was married for a few years and their marriage didn't last. And I remember them calling me and we were having this conversation. And I remember very clearly saying, I feel like this is the monster of your making. And I can remember a specific example of one time her husband because she's a perfectionist in a lot of ways and she just like things very and she would always have really nice things and just decorate her stuff really nice. And so one day her husband, like very early on in their marriage, he tried because she's one of the people when you get out of bed, you make it up, right? And but you gotta put all the pillows on, you gotta pull the sheet like this, and it's gotta have this, and it's gotta have this corner. And she was very particular, and he tried, and it didn't work. And she's like, "Don't worry, but don't do it no more. I'll do it because you ain't gonna do it. Folding up the
Woo!
towels, you don't fold them up. Don't do them. Don't
Woo!
worry about it. I do it from here. You just gonna mess it
Oh,
up, kind of thing, right?" And so
honey.
he learned over time, nothing that I do is good enough, so I'm not gonna try anymore.
Oh,
And so next thing you know, a year later, she's mad and resentful. He don't do nothing. And I'm like, hell, every time he try to do something, you fussing. Like I ain't been over y'all house that much, but when I come over there, he tried to do this and you chewed his head off. So hell, I wouldn't keep trying either.
that was me. That was
But that was
me.
the bed of her making. And then eventually he just got to this point where he just didn't feel good enough. He didn't feel like anything he did was deserving. And so he stopped trying. And then you're mad because he's not trying. And then she's angry because I'm doing everything. You're not helping. What are you doing to help? And he's hell,
Oh,
I can't do nothing.
I'm guilty. Oh, I'm so guilty. I'm so guilty. I'm so guilty.
What was the
Uh,
shift for you though? Did you find that did you just stay in that place or did you ever get to a point where you just okay, I gotta let go of some of these things?
and it's so funny because at every pivotal moment, a drastic measure takes place.
Mhm.
Remember, I told you the moment he decided to actually act on one of his dreams, he
That
he got sick. So my shifting was the moment he got sick because I finally said, okay, I can't do this no more. I'm taking over everybody role. I can't take over everybody role. And then you wonder why we get burned out. That was my reason for getting burned out because I was trying to do
you was burning yourself out.
everything. It was me. Look, self-imposed. That's your word, right? That was self-imposed. But yeah, so that was just shift for me because it took him becoming sick where now he couldn't do those things and I had to do them. But now my mentality of having to do it changed
Change.
because I now had to do it because this is how I'm going to take care of my family because he can no longer do it. He was doing it, he was getting there. And then now it's shifted back to where I am now running everything, doing everything, taking care of everything. But now it's in a different circumstance. And
Mhm.
so that is what made it. So I was forced to shift that way at that point, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense. And so it was just a moment of, okay, here we are. So this is where we are. So all the reasons, all the times that you were fussing, all the times that you were mad, all the times, it didn't matter anymore. Now you got to do it because this is what's going to
This
be,
is what it's now.
yep, this is where we are. And so it's going to have to get done. And so him getting sick definitely upended our whole life. It really did. It turned it completely upside down. And moving forward, we're now 8 years, almost 9 years into his diagnosis. And so many things have changed. And we didn't even talk about the dynamics of him being the coach to our boys in basketball, him being their basketball trainer, training them. He was outside, they were practicing, they were doing this, working on formation and working on skills and all of this. He was the girl dad, one of the best girl dads ever, honey. It was just Cedric and Aaliyah everywhere you go. And growing up, and that's my girl, what am I going to do, what do we need to do? He was taking her to the park. He was doing everything he needed to do and needed to be. He was a good husband. We still had our moments, but he was trying. And then when the shift happened, all of that stopped. The relationship dynamic changed between him and the boys and him and Aaliyah. And now I'm trying to make sure they're okay, preparing them for what they're about to watch their dad go through, preparing them for how our life is going to change, and preparing them for what once was is not going to be any longer. And so all of that fell on me. And I just needed somebody to say, hey, you good? Hey, I need, what do you need me to do? I just needed somebody. There were some, what can I do? And I told you this, I hate that question. What can I do? I don't know. I don't know what you can do. I don't know. I have to get this done. This has to be done. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thanks. That weight was so darn heavy. Not all physical, because God knows that was, but mentally, spiritually, I was broken. I was broken. It shifted into a deep depression because what the heck am I going to do? I'm still doing it, but what the heck am I going to do with my life? Those dreams that we talked about of me wanting to do more than just work, I had to put that to the side. Those dreams of us being able to travel or being able to do the things that we just wanted to do. We had to put that to the side because everything changed for us. Everything shifted for us. Everything. So that balance definitely was no longer. That burnout was even greater. The guilt was greater because I was losing something. I was losing me. I was at some point neglecting my kids because I was focusing on him. Work, my 9 to 5, what? I don't even care because my life, my home life is too much. So I was just going to work numb. Going to work was my break. That was my vacation from my home life because my home life was crazy. But I went to work and was thinking about home, and it was just a lot. It was just a lot. So that burnout, that emptiness, that losing of oneself, that guilt, all of that played a totally different role for me because it changed who Kelly was from when she walked down that aisle to this wonderful man. And I have to now figure out how all of this is going to play out, how my life is going to be, how our life is going to be, how to keep us above water because at that time he no longer worked. I had to be an advocate for him because he was approved for disability, but that didn't kick in. He had to wait and a day, a whole year and a day before health insurance, his Medicare will kick in. He had to be disabled for a whole year. and a day before insurance would kick in. When he was approved for disability, that had to start 6 months later. And so I kept saying, why are we waiting? Is this going to change? Nothing about it was going to change. Nothing about it was going to change. But I had to advocate. I had to learn how to do that. Again, where's that book where your wife becomes your caregiver? And you're not taking care of a disabled where's that book? Where are the instructions for that? Where are the instructions to be a mom to now children of a disabled dad, of a sick dad? Where's that book? Where is it? I'm still looking for it. Somebody said, Kelly, you didn't write it. I'm not writing nothing.
We didn't say you had to read it. We just said you had to write it. You can write it. Yeah, I know you ain't gonna read it, but so do you feel comfortable? If you don't want to, we could skip past this, but do you want to talk about grief in your marriage in terms of grieving the marriage that you started out with versus where you see yourself now? Because you started off on a path with this idea, right? This happily ever after, and not saying that you don't have that, but what that looked like shifted. And like, did you grieve for that part of your marriage that you
I went
lost,
through
or
every step of grief, every step. Denial, acceptance, bargaining. Oh God, I did. I went through every step of grieving. I did because I was grieving my husband. I was grieving who he was. I was grieving my children's dad, grieving who he was to them. I know my children went through every step of grieving. And even still to this day, again, 9 years later into it, I'm still grieving because Parkinson just takes you through an emotional, not only a physical roller coaster, but an emotional roller coaster because he can be high one day, he can be high 1 minute and down the next. He can be up today and then 2 days later, honey, he in the hospital for 20 days. So it is definitely a roller coaster. I have hit every emotion. I have hit every level of whatever I could hit. I've been there. I've been there, but I had to keep going. There was a lot of horrible days where I just forget it. I can't. I'm not doing this. I can't. I remember people saying, "You good, Kelly," because some people would just leave, and I understood it. I understood that. I understood that. Did it cross my mind? The thought that crossed my mind was, I understand how and why, but I was not going to leave him. That was not a desire ever, but I understood why and how people do because it's hard. It's not for the weak. It's not for the weak, even though I was weak many days and continue to be. But yeah, it's definitely not for the weak. But I have thought about the words and the vows that I took standing in front of the preacher and my family and friends. And those words mean something totally different now. I'm living them out in the way that they were meant to be lived out. They were words 24 years ago, but they're actions now. And
they
that's
were
that.
they were words 24 years ago. They're actions now, but they're actually vows. They were just like you said, promises that you are actually living in now. And when you're saying those vows, you don't. I think we know, but you don't know.
Correct. 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 And that's why I don't understand why it's so easy for divorce. Again, I get it because it's sometimes easier to not have to fight for it. Sometimes it's easier to say, okay, let's just end it because we're just not going to agree. If there was any cheating involved, any abuse involved, of course, I wholeheartedly, but just divorcing just to divorce because that's the easy way out, I don't understand. That I don't understand because, and you mentioned it, marriage is a job. You got to work at it like you do your 9 to 5, like you do your business. You got to work at it. Being a parent, you have to work at it. It's not just going to come easy. It's not going to be easy at all times. And when it gets rough, that's not when you break out. That's not when you bail out. Yeah, it's definitely something that you have to really think through. Nobody needs to just come on, let's just get married. Go down to Vegas and say, let's just get married and just think it's just gonna be like that for the next 50, 60 years. No, it's not. It's not. Okay, so we are probably past time. And I think that we can finish this up because we do have a few more topics that we want to discuss within this marriage and motherhood being more than a title. So we are going to give you a second episode. So we're going to bring this episode to an end and we are going to give you a bonus and be able to give you a part two of this topic. I think it's a topic that's needed. I think it's a topic that's important. Those who decide not to get married, and marriage is not for everybody, right? And those who know that marriage is not, it's not for them, I applaud you for not even trying to waste your time or anybody else's. For those who are still wanting to get married, who are single, my thing is stay in the fight, my sister. Stay in the fight. And look, and I'm talking to my real sister because, honey, I'm telling you, honey, he's coming, Trina. He's coming. I don't know when, but he's coming. He's coming. But I hope that at least this part one has opened up some thoughts for you. Start some conversations, those hard conversations that you probably need to have with your spouse because you just don't know when you decide, when that love comes and when the marriage comes and when the kids come, anything could happen. And it doesn't have to be as drastic as one of the spouses becoming sick, but it can be financial. It can be something, a tragedy that could take place. It could be something mental. It could be something spiritual. There's that spiritual unequal yoke, like you mentioned, that's serious and that's real. That's real. And hopefully this episode has sparked or can spark some conversation for you and your spouse, your family. Maybe it will help you look at being a parent better or more. What changes do you need to make? When we're looking at that balance, and that we keep saying that balance, but we know that balance is a lie. But when we're trying to mentally strive for that balance, that comes burnout. Burnout comes from that, and then guilt comes from that as well. So as we're wrapping up, I want you to know that you're not alone, that if you're falling apart, we understand, we get it. You're carrying probably more than what one heart should. And it's okay to ask for help. And that's something that was very hard for me and probably continues to be very hard for me. But it's okay to take a breath, to take a beat, to take a step back. It's okay. So if you're listening now and you're thinking, this is me, I need you to know you're not alone. We get it. We understand. And so we're going to try to get this together, work on this together. So, Lillian, I know that you love your journal prompts. Is there a journal prompt that we want to end with for our listeners?
Yes, because I love them. And so the journal prompt for this part of the episode is going to be, where am I carrying more than I'm confessing? And what do I need to release so I can breathe again?
It seems like I see in the future some Mike's Moms and Mayhem journals so we can give out to our
Absolutely. Yeah, some
listeners.
affirmations,
Right.
some journals.
I believe somebody
Yeah.
said that.
Who would have said
I
that?
don't
Who
know.
would have
I don't know. I don't know, but maybe we could
maybe?
get journals for our listeners because
Absolutely.
since you love these journal prompts, I guess they
I
need
do.
something to write in, right?
Because I put them in my journal, and I'm tell y'all that's one of the ways that I have started back pouring into myself, and that is my self-care. I try to start my day where I write down things that I'm grateful for, and I'm very intentionally practicing gratitude, just as a mindset shift. But I also enjoy a prompt that makes me think about things. So I definitely use that as a form of self-care. It's cheap. And I love cheap and free stuff because I can just find paper and write it down. Yeah, maybe we can make that happen and offer that for our subscribers and listeners. And maybe we can
Sounds
give
good.
some writing prompts or something. I don't know.
Sounds good.
I feel
Sounds
like we're
good.
manifesting some things.
So if you enjoyed this episode, please send it to a wife, a mom, somebody who wishes to get married eventually, send it to them. Maybe this is something that they need. Let her know that they're seen, that they're loved, and they are doing their. We will drop this episode next week, and then we will get a part 2 episode for you real soon. Stay tuned in tune.
Right.
This
And
listen.
as my homegirl would say, tell a family, tell a friend, tell a
Tell a
foe,
foe. Tell a foe, honey, because
tell a
look, we need
foe.
them too. We need them too. You can follow us, Mike's Moms and Mayhem. You can go to our website, mikesmomsmayhem.com. We have our episodes there. We have reels there. And also there for news and updates. You can follow us. You can also follow us on our platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We are also on Spotify and Substack. I think, am I missing anything else? But stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay
Please
tuned.
keep up
Yeah.
with
Stay
our
tuned.
updates. And
Yes.
we love to have you. Let's not forget, until next time, keep the mics hot. Keep the
Mhm.
mom momming because honey
'Cause mama
and
ain't easy. It ain't
keep wifing
right.
for this episode specific. Keep
Right.
momming and keep the mayhem coming. Moms, stay strong, and we will see you soon. I am Kelly,
And I'm Lillian.
and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.